still discussing interesting ideas in this book titled Automating Humanity by Joe Toscano. And so one of the very fascinating concepts I came across while reading this book is something called technological unemployment. Toscano talked about technological unemployment, and then he said it can be attributed to an economist called John Maynard Keynes. In his article he wrote, I think, in 1930. So out of curiosity, I decided to find the original paper, the original article, and then I was able to find it online and actually go through it. I just think it's going to be just a usual article, economic paper, but for real, it's one of the most intriguing, it's one of the thought-provoking, and it's one of the most futuristic paper I've read in a long while. The title of that paper is Economic Possibility or Economic Reality for Grandchildren. So, the main concept, the main idea, what was discussed in that paper, there was I think in the early 90s, right, there was a lot of economic hardship, economic precipice, and then just, economic instability that has never been experienced before, by humanity. And so, there were a lot of reactions, a lot of comments, a lot of, arguments about what the current situation is and what the future will be like. But unfortunately, a lot of all these comments and reactions were actually so pessimistic. Right? People were so pessimistic about the whole situation, because it is something that's never been experienced before that's never been experienced by humans. So the reaction was just so pessimistic, so overwhelmingly pessimistic for someone like John Maynard Keynes. So John Maynard Keynes is a philosopher and an economist. So that prompted him to actually write this article. Right. According to him, he was not just writing the paper to address the current economic reality, but actually draw valuable and reasonable judgments from history, observing the current situation, and what would the economy be like in the next century, right? That's why I titled it Economic Reality for Our Grandchildren. So, he was not just, addressing the current economic reality, but wanted to take wings into the future and see what the economy will be like in the next 100 years. So, the reason why a lot of people were actually so pessimistic about the situation that things are never going to get better, all this kind of thing, was because, as I've said, in fact, 1930 coincides with, I think that was also around the period of Great Depression. Great Depression started in 1929, if I'm right, till 1930 something thereabout. So you can imagine what the economic reality was as at then. So the reason why people were so pessimistic cannot be far-fetched, because it's not something people had never experienced before. But from the argument of John Keynes, the reason for the economic instability was, he mentioned two factors. Right, first being lack of important technological or technical advancement. Right, and then the second point was the inability of capital to accumulate. Right, so those are the two main reasons. And then, talking about the first reason, lack of important technological improvement, was the fact that prior to that age, right, that was in the 19th centuries, right, the whole concept of economy, the whole concept of human life was being done by manual labor, right? Talk about printing, talk about agriculture, talk about everything that involves labor were being done by humans. So there was no any form of external influences, external forces that were affecting these things. So relatively, the economy has always been relatively stable, right? There was no external factor that could cause any form of imbalance to the economy. But from the 16th century, 17th century, from 18th century, 19th century, that was when especially in the 19th century, that was when we began to have a lot of technological advancement, a lot of discoveries, inventions like steam, coal, electricity, printing machines, and then just a lot of techniques for mass production of goods and services. So these technical improvements were the things that were the forces that were actually caused imbalance in the economy as at that time. So these were the things that John Keynes was actually bringing to the perspective of people. Right, that's always bringing to the perspective of people, and so instead of being pessimistic, it is important that we actually look, the situations look at critically and use it to predict what will actually happen, with the current situation and then in the future generation. So, he mentioned that now looking at the factors that are actually causing this economic instability, that's when now the people were finding it difficult because something that's never happened before. So now that situation, that period was a period where people were actually had to adjust, right? Had to adjust to the situation, the imbalance, and all this kind of stuff. So now, John Keynes, that was when he coined the word, or he used the word technological unemployment. So technological unemployment occurs when technology advances faster than society can create new forms of work. That means people that were being replaced by technology. Now the rate at which the people that have been replaced by technology, humans cannot really find replacement. Humans cannot really find new forms of work for them. So that's the concept of technological employment. Look at tractors replacing human labor. Printing machines replacing people that normally write or normally type, right? So and then look like my modern world, ATMs reducing demand for bank tellers and this kind of stuff. So that's basically the concept of technological unemployment. Now, but when you look at the article, right? When you look at the article now, the argument of John Keynes was not just about technology taking over human jobs, or or the idea of technological unemployment before. Now, John Keynes is actually making a bold prediction. Right, John Keynes was actually making a bold prediction about what the influence of technological improvements we caused on we have on humanity, we have on our every facet of human life. So John Keynes was actually making a bold prediction of abundance. He was making a bold prediction of bold prediction of a future whereby the economic problem will not be a problem of humanity, right? It was making a bold prediction that now technology will be so advanced. Technology will be so advanced to the extent that humans will no longer need to work, right? That even at all humans need to work, it's going to be it's not going to be so demanding, right, as we have it in our current world, right? He predicted the time whereby humans might just currently we are doing 95, right? We are working 9 hours per day. So John Keynes is predicting a time whereby we only have to work 3 hours per day, and it's not even going to be mandatory. So John Keynes was basically predicting abundance, that when autonomous machines, when technology becomes so advanced, right, that it will be machines that will actually be doing a lot of manual labor, a lot of work that are being done by humans. And so we currently live in a very capitalist world whereby you have to work before you can earn a living. You have to work before you can even function very well in our modern society. So he regarded as all those concepts as false. Regard it as a misdemeanor, right? That's not the fundamental. That's not the fundamental essence of humanity, right? Currently we spend most of our lives on earning a living, paying bills, surviving, all those kind of. In fact, you mentioned something called means of life and the heart of life. So means of life are currently what we are focusing on nowadays, because of we have to. Means of life is basically things like earning, living, surviving, paying bills, and all those kind of stuff. But heart of life are things that involve relationship, communication, creativity, philosophy, culture, personal fulfillment. Just exploring things that that has nothing to do with economy, because by that time the fundamental economic needs of every human beings will have been met, right, by technology. We no longer need to work with technology. Will be the one doing a lot of all our manual labors, and so there will be no really much need for human beings to be actively work again, except for people that really enjoy working. Because he actually argued that in fact, the reason why a lot of people were pessimistic about the whole situation was because now it is an abnormality of our current world, the fact that we actually need to work, because human beings we've been engineered, we've been programmed from ages that we actually work is something that kind of when you talk about work nowadays, people kind of equate it, or kind of it's something very similar to someone's purpose. Right, so it's something similar to some people. In fact, I heard something sometimes when during the beginning of technology improvement in agriculture, right? So people that are being displaced from farming, right, because of tractors and all these forms of mechanized farming. So farmers that are being displaced. Some people actually suffered from depression. Some people who actually suffered from loneliness and depression, because now working has become an integral part of human lives. And so when there was actually no need to work again, people kind of lose sense of purpose. People kind of lose sense of meaning for their life. So it was because of this readjustment that during the times of Keynes, that's why people were so pessimistic about the situation, and then they were so pessimistic that things were never going to get better, and that kind of stuff. So John Keynes was talking about all these things were actually means of life, which is not the fundamental purpose of humanity. This is not the fundamental purpose of everyone on earth. And so when technology becomes so advanced that it does a lot of our human manual labors and a lot of our activities, then humans can then focus on the arts of life, which are relationship, exploring art, exploring creativity, exploring philosophy, and even exploring religion. So this was some of the focus of John Keynes. This was what John Keynes was kind of talking about in this article. So he was basically taking wings into the future. You can see he was not really addressing the current economic reality of that time. He was looking into the future, that because he was so sure that now the technology improvements that were happening then is just the beginning. It's never going to slow down. Technology will keep improving and will keep taking human jobs. And so even though people were so pessimistic about the situation, but people didn't like the reality at that time. But he was so sure that it's just the beginning and it's going to get better. The reason why people were so pessimistic at that time was because they were finding it difficult, as with basic human psychology, right? They were finding it difficult to adjust to the new reality. That's why people were so pessimistic about the situation at that time. So John Keynes was actually arguing that now this thing is going to happen progressively, right? It's not just it's not just something that will happen, all at once. It's something that will happen over the years. It's something that will happen over ages. But as an economist, he gave some insights into how humans can actually, accelerate, or can actually ensure that, how humanity can actually ensure that this future that he envisaged actually come into fulfillment. And then he mentioned 4 things. One of them was humanity has to ensure that there is no war, right? So in the absence of war, then we can quickly, we can, we will actually get to this future of economic abundance, of economic wealth for the whole of humanity. I mean, for 99% of humanity, for larger percentage of humanity. And then apart from war, he mentioned that humans need to. He talked about population. Like population has to be kept in check for us to achieve. He said there was not be unreasonable outburst of population growth. So basically, population is a factor. Population has to be kept in check for for us to achieve this economic growth. And then you mentioned for this economic abundance, for this future of economic wealth. And then you mentioned things like science. Humans need to allow science to actually do its things, right? We actually need to give room for technological employment, and then we just need to delegate to science what science can cater for. And then there's one more thing he mentioned which I can't remember, for now. So so what kind of made me curious was, now looking at our current dispensation, look at our current age, right? In the last 4-5 years, we've seen a massive improvement in technology, right? Especially in the aspect of artificial intelligence. And then we've had a lot of companies lay off, right? So we had a lot of, especially in tech, we had a lot of companies lay off, big companies like Meta, Amazon, Twitter, which is now called X. So there has been a lot of layoffs in big companies nowadays. So now, are we actually in a future predicted by John Keynes? Right? Are we actually in a future predicted by John Keynes? I mean, there are a lot of things technology AI can do nowadays. We have a lot of generative artificial intelligence, robotics, AI agents, self-driving technologies, and so I mean, even in software engineering, you can actually bootstrap an idea or build an MVP for a product within days, right, by autonomous agents. Nowadays, something that will literally take 3 months to build an MVP before, it can literally be done within days now. So now technology is actually performing tasks that previously required human expertise, human knowledge, and those kind of stuff, right? But are we in the future predicted by John Keynes? So now, even though we actually have technology as artificial intelligence has taken a lot of jobs, but the reality is that that's also created more jobs. To me, it looks like kind of we're in a cycle, right? We're in a cycle. Technology has indeed, especially artificial intelligence, has indeed destroyed a lot of jobs, but then it's actually created new ones, right? It's actually created a lot of new jobs. So I find it I find it difficult to actually agree that we're in a future predicted by John Keynes. Obviously, we are not yet in that future, but are we heading in that path? Well, I feel we're heading in that path, but not so fast, right? Not so fast as some people think. I mean, John Keynes mentioned that in the next century, his postulation was within the next century, within the next 100 years, that humanity is going to get to this state. And then I think this the article was written in 1930. So this is 2016. That's about 96. This is about 96 years. We're almost at the end of the century, right? So obviously, I mean, we still have a lot of, the poverty rate of the world is still at an alarming rate, right? In fact, we are not even at equilibrium yet, because it's only few percent or 1%. I don't know the real percent, but we only have the rich people or people who have live in economic abundance in our modern world are not up to 10%, 20%. I know they are just about 10%, 20%. So a larger percentage of the population of the world are actually still very, very poor, living below the minimum standard of living. So was Keynes right in his prediction? I don't know. Right, I would like to hear you guys' opinion, or if Keynes was actually right in his opinion, because technology has created more jobs. Technology has actually, scrapped or displaced a lot of jobs, but then it has also created new ones. So to me, it looks like, okay, history is still just repeating itself, and it has also reduced labor, right? But then we still work 9 to 5, right? In fact, we still work more than 9 to 5 safe. So, so now we have not yet gotten to the age whereby human no longer needs to work. Right, we've not yet gotten to that age, and it doesn't look like we're even close to that age yet. So, if Keynes was right, maybe Keynes will eventually be right, but I don't think we are close to that time yet, and it doesn't even look like we are really close to that time. Although a lot of all these what do you call them? A lot of industry leaders, technology leaders, or people that are actually building this AI product, we say that we give their own opinions that, okay, technology in the next 2 years, 5 years, all those kind of prediction that, okay, AI. In fact, 2 years ago, it was being said that, okay, there will be no need for software engineers again. But then software engineers are still very much relevant nowadays, because we still need humans to engineer, or to kind of drive this AI, artificial intelligence, this product. So we are not close to that. I don't think we are close to that. The future that John Keynes predicted yet, but there are indications that we are actually going towards that path. Will the future come? Will the exact future that John Keynes predicted come? Will humanity actually get to a point whereby we actually will not need to work again, or there will be a lot of economic abundance? I really don't know. Right, I want to hear people's opinion on that, because that's a very big prediction, right? That involves a lot of factors for it to come into fruition. But for me, I actually find these predictions, I actually find John Keynes' predictions, his thought process, so inspiring and so fascinating for someone in that age, right, that didn't even witness artificial intelligence or the kind of technological sophistications that we have nowadays. For him to make that kind of predictions, and for him actually to ask those questions at that time, shows a man that is very intelligent, a man that could actually look into the future. It shows a man that is very concerned about humanity as a whole. So what fascinates me most about this article is not about whether John Keynes got his every detail of his predictions, whether he got it right or we eventually got them right, but the fact that centuries ago, 100 years ago, someone was already asking deep questions about work, deep questions about machines, deep questions about the central purpose of human life. And so it occurs to me that the idea of John Keynes, the idea of technological employment, is not just about whether technology is going to take over human labor, but the fact that the central idea to me is that what will happen when survival is no more the central focus of humanity. Right, what will happen when survival is no more, the center of our human life, right? And then, I just want to know: do you think we are heading towards the future predicted by John Keynes, or do you even think we are ever going to get there? And or do you think humanity will always find a way, despite all the abundance of and the improvements in technology we are having nowadays? Do you think humans will always find a way to create jobs for themselves? So let me know what you think in the comment section. Cheers.